I recently had one of my mastermind meetings, and my mastermind student says to me that, hey, Hoan, I went out there and I spoke to a seller and they asked me a bunch of tough questions. Now, in my masterminds, I always encourage you guys to go out and go talk to sellers, because sellers are who have properties, and the properties is how you make money. Without the deals, without the properties, there is no money to be made. So I always tell my students, go out there, go talk to sellers. And my student did, and she got tripped up. It's all good. It's all good. It's the learning experience. She told me the questions that tripped her up. And so I said, you know what? That is going to be a great YouTube video. If you guys don't know who I am, I'm Hoan. This is the Hoan Zone. We help you multiply the assets that you own. And in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to answer the tough questions that sellers might ask you. And if it's your first time investing, they are going to trip you up. So the very first question that trips people up is, do you have proof of funds? A seller's like, hey, you want to see my property? You want to buy my property, as you're saying? Show me proof of funds. So where do you get the proof of funds from? Well, there's a couple of different sources. One, you can get proof of funds from a hard money lender. You can say, hey, please approve me. Write a letter that says that I am approved for X amount of dollars to buy a property. And what you want to do is you want to get the hard money lender on board before you even talk to sellers and say, hey, if I find a property for X dollars, would you be able to lend me the money for this property? And a lot of hard money lenders can easily write you that letter because it's non-binding. The letter is just saying that if you find a property within this criteria, then yeah, we'll lend you the money. The other way you can get proof of funds is you can have lines of credit already set up. So maybe you actually do have the money. It could be in the form of cash or lines of credit or both. You can show that as proof of funds. I had to do that recently. I had a whole bunch of money trapped in another deal, so I didn't have all of it in my checking account, but I did have it in my lines of credit. So I showed the seller that, hey, here's my cash, here's my line of credit, and it's enough to pay for your property. Another question that really trips people up when they're just getting started is, how many deals have you done? You could say, well, this is my first one, which might make the seller kind of funny. Or you can say that we have done dozens of deals, thousands of deals. It depends on who we is, right? Or are. Is it you and an imaginary friend and you're lying? Or is it you and me, right? If you and I can be in cahoots together, then you can say we, collective we. Like, let's say I've done 100 deals and you've done 0, then collectively we have done 100 deals. So you can then say to the seller without lying that we have done 100 deals. Now, if the seller is a real estate investor, you could say, hey, look, it's my first deal. I'm going to be straight up with you. It's my first deal, but this is how I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to structure it. This is how I'm going to finance it, all that kind of stuff, right? And you can tell that to the real estate investor, and the real estate investor might actually be pretty impressed and be willing to work with you on this deal. So sometimes you want to say we and sound bigger than you are, or you can just be straight up with the seller. Another question that you might not even think to answer is, how quickly can you close? That is a question that pops up a lot. Sometimes sellers want a little bit of time. They want, like, can you close in 3 days? Like, they want you to really shrink that down. Or they're actually asking, like, hey, when do you want to close? And they might actually be interested in more time because they might be a homeowner and they got to buy another property. So when they ask, like, how quickly can you close? I usually answer, I can close as quick as you like or as long as you need. This way, I put it back in their court and say, I'm flexible, I can close quickly, or I can take a long time. It just depends on what you need. I used to always assume that they wanted to close faster until there were sellers that said, I need a couple of months to get my stuff moved out. One of the questions that the mastermind student brought up is that the seller asked, which title company are you using? Who would have thought that the seller would ask, which title company do you use? Well, it's simple, just have one in mind. Or you can say, well, there's 3 that I like to use, so it really depends whichever one I'm feeling in the mood to use that day. So you can kind of like brush off the question, or you can answer directly and give them a name, XYZ title company. They might ask, are you going to finance or are you going to pay in cash? And if you're going to finance, who's the lender? So if they ask something like that, you can say, hey, look, I'm going to use financing. I have a bunch of different lenders that I use. I also have private money lenders, or I can close with cash. It really depends on the situation. If the property works out just fine and we have the time constraint, like we don't need to close super fast, then let me use a lender. This way I can save my money for the rehab. So you can answer it that way. or you can say like, I can come up with the cash if we need it. Either way, I'm closing on this property as long as we can agree on a number. Now, I often tell my students to offer a creative financing strategy like subject to. So subject to is where you're going to buy the property and you're going to leave the mortgage in place. The mortgage is going to be in their name still, but you are going to be the owner of the property. So that's subject to. You're buying it subject to the mortgage or subject to the lien. The seller may ask, what if you don't pay the loan, right? What if you don't pay? That loan is still in my name. That's going to hurt me. So one thing that you could say is, I will record the deed transfer to me, but I will also have another deed where I sell it back to you, and we're just going to keep it at the title company in a folder, and they're going to hold on to it. If I don't pay that loan, then I am going to allow the title company to transfer the property back into your name, and any money that I've given you and any rehab that I've done to the property, you get to keep, so you're going to be ahead. So if I don't pay for it, you're going to make out either way. That one's a little bit more advanced, so just maybe practice that one a little bit. My final tip for when dealing with a seller that is asking you a bunch of questions, my final tip here is ask them a bunch of questions, right? They're coming at you like, hey, show me proof of funds, or do you have proof of funds? Are you paying for cash, with cash or credit? Like, how are you doing this? You got to hit them. Hey, why are you selling? Would you prefer cash, or are you okay with financing? Does it matter which title company that I'm using? Like, is there a preference that you like? Like, ask them questions back, and then this way, it's not one-sided where they're just drilling you and they're getting used to it and they just keep hitting you with more questions. You want to hit them back with questions, and then also ask other questions to probe into their situation. Again, why are they selling? How quickly do they want to sell? And also, what are you doing with the money once you sell the property, right? Do you want to be a private money lender in a future deal of mine? Because I buy properties all the time. So turn it around on them. Be comfortable with this. Don't be too uptight, because you need to be able to move, right? When they're asking you questions and you might not know the answer, if you're too stiff, then you won't be able to answer on your feet quick. So be loose. Just be okay with it. It's just a conversation, and don't feel like you're going to get it wrong. Just make something up on the fly and be okay with it, because you will get better each time. So that is it. Hopefully this video helped you, because my student got stumped and I don't want you guys to get stumped. She's way better now, but I noticed that a lot of people get scared of talking to sellers because they might get hit with these kind of questions. My question to you, did you like this video? Did you? If so, hit that like button and put in the comments that, hey, Hoan, I really enjoyed this kind of content, so create more of it. Put that in the comments so that I know what it is that you guys want. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please do subscribe, and every Monday and Wednesday you will see a new video from me here at the Hoan Zone, designed to help you multiply the assets you own. And like I said in the video earlier, if you want to show proof of funds and you want to have lines of credit already available, check out hoanzone.com/LOC, which stands for line of credit. And all you got to do is schedule a meeting, and then what we will do is help you find lines of credit that you can use to buy more real estate. All right, now that the video is over, I want you to exit out of YouTube, and I want you to pick up the phone, and I want you to start calling sellers. All right, guys, that is it. I am Hoan Tai. Let's multiply.